Well, Willie, welcome to the programme. Thanks for joining us. Peter Dunn says that the Maori seat should go. Is he right?
No, he's not right at all. It'd be great to see a Maori candidate in his party. As far as I know, he's never had one. You know, I understand where Pete's coming from. He's saying, oh, there's this egalitarian setup now in Parliament, and we've got all these Māori who are there courtesy of the list, but for some reason not in his party. What we need is we need Māori who first and foremost represent Māori interests. That's what we need. I'm not saying that some of the Māori in the other parties aren't Māori, because of course they are, whether it's Winston Peters or Me Tidia Tudor, of course they're Māori, proudly Māori too. But first and foremost, like with Me Tidia, it's her party that comes first. Same with Winston, same with people like Shane Jones. And so having Māori seats is absolutely imperative because their first priority is the Māori people, the Māori people.
But they were originally introduced in the
1867 or something.
But they were only ever a 5-year stopgap to get around the fact that not many Māori would have qualified under the property qualification.
Right. But it's taken on a new context. So the reality is that we've found that Pākehā MPs and Māori MPs, as I said, first and foremost represent their parties, and so and that's really tough. So a Māori MP could have all the best principles in the world. Let's take John Tamahere or Shane Jones, for instance. Those two. Look at those two. You know, they're both proudly Māori, but first and foremost they have to answer to Helen Clark, and so the Māori priority, the Māori interests take a back seat, and that's the problem.
Because the actual numbers are something like 14% of the population is Māori. And
I think we're up to about 15%, aren't we, in terms of... But it's not just about a skin colour, it's not just about a Māori, it's about a Māori who represent Māori, who put their hands up.
So you're saying that because I think it's 19% of MPs are Māori, so are you saying that they're not actually representing their people? No,
they're not. It's just a fact. Shane Jones said it to me in an interview. He goes, if you think you're here first and foremost for Māori, then you're kidding yourself, especially if you're in the Labour Party. First and foremost, I answer to Helen and the Labour Party. So we lose out, and that's just the reality. And people say, oh, that's a bit unfair, but it's the reality. Shane has to answer to Helen. That's why with the foreshore and seabed, we lost out badly in 2004, and Tariana Turia had to leave Parliament. Well, she did have to leave Parliament, and she set up her own party because she said Māori interests are being lost here. You know, they're being lost because of New Zealand's interests, because Helen Clark and them were so worried that the Maoris were going to take over the country and not let Pākehā onto the beaches. And so that's why the Māori Party came about. I know people find that hard. You know, probably the majority of people find that hard to accept, but it's just a fact. It's how we've operated. It's not racist. We don't see it as racist. We see it as equality. You know, the Māori Party, Māori MPs, I think should have all New Zealanders' interests at heart. I don't think that they should solely think about Māori, but Māori are a priority for them.
You said in an article recently that 100 non-Māori MPs are so clueless about Māori issues that you'd need 21 Māori MPs to cope with their ignorance.
I might have exaggerated a little bit, because I was thinking about there are some good ones there. I was thinking, but you can't fit them all into an article. The young Tremaine, for instance, from Hawke's Bay, I think he's a tremendous young MP. I saw him the other week. I says, look, I wrote this article.
What does that mean you?
yeah, well, because I think I chucked Sue Bradford, Nandor, Helen Clark, Michael Cullen, but there are 2 or 3 others. Wayne Mapp's another guy who's been around a while. Bill English isn't too bad himself, actually, on Māori things. So, you know, might be exaggerating a bit there, but the vast majority, I'd say, are quite clueless about Māori history. You know?
And yet they would say that they were very sensitive to Māori issues.
Who?
The 100 MPs?
Well, no one likes to think they're clueless or they're ignorant of New Zealand history, but I'm just saying that they are. I've been to Parliament, and you know, I'm not saying that, you know, there's the Ku Klux Klan there or anything like that, but I'm saying that our education system didn't cater well for a lot of people coming through. That's why you've got so much ignorance in terms of Māori, and Parliament's not really that different from, you know, the rest of society. Mirrors a lot of what society is.
Because that came out recently with John Key and his comments about New Zealand forming without any hassle, really, having forgotten the land wars.
Yes. Well, the land wars in the 1860s, 1870s, I think John got himself into a bit of confusion there, because principally he's not far off the mark, despite what Helen Clark and Michael Cullen and them are all, I mean, they're all saying. I think they're all a bit desperate, actually. You only have to go back on Michael Cullen's speeches and the Governor-General's speeches to realise that this country was quite different to other countries. The English were smart, Maori were smart, and there wasn't a lot of bloodshed, you know, in that early period. There was later on, but I think John Key is trying, to tell you the truth. I think he's, I've had some dealings with him. He's met with a number of Māori. I remember when I first met him at Waitangi. He went out of his way to come and say hello, and this is about 4 years ago. And he said, oh, some of them are keeping me away from people like you, but you know, give us a call any time. Yeah. You saw in Waitangi when he went and met Tamaiti. He's a bloke who fronts up. A lot of question marks on him because I think he's a bit tainted by his financial history. But there seems some sincerity there. He'd be the first to say he wasn't given the background in terms of Māori history. And that's just a fact.
Let's go back to the Māori Party, which, as you say, formed a few years ago after Taliana left Labour. Is it better for Māori MPs for good representation of Māori? Is it good for them to be in a sort of a ghetto party like that, or could they have achieved more by working from within the major parties?
Well, that's always the big question, isn't it? And that's always what gets thrown in their faces. Tariana got that when she left the Labour Party. You know, there was always the view that you have to sort of get within the main parties. I subscribed to that in part. You know, I was with the Alliance, but you can get lost. And my view is you need both. I think you need the Joneses, the Winstons, you need them in the big parties, but you also need a separate party like the Māori Party to keep the pressure on them, to remind them when they're not acting Māori, to remind them when they're selling out, you know, and that's what you need. And so the Māori Party is a staunch party. I'm not sure if it's a ghettoised party. It's if you talk to Key or Johnny Key and Helen Clark, I saw her in an interview last night. She says she gets on well with Tariana now, and they all get on well. They all love the Māori Party. You'll find if you look back at interviews over the last year, not one of them have criticised the Māori Party. That's probably more to do with them needing mates rather than wanting to talk. You know, well, we find it hard to bring people on to criticise the Māori Party on some of the shows that I do because it's all about numbers in the end and MMP. But you know, back to your question, I think we need the Māori Party, but I do think we need you know, we don't want to just be separate. We need the others in the big parties. Otherwise, we won't have influence, and that's what it's about in the end.
Because Taliana's fascinating because for a start, she's a Māori woman leading a Māori party.
Absolutely.
That's pretty unusual.
Absolutely.
And she manages. She's walked a fine tightrope of appearing gracious and wise and sensible. And if anybody steps out of line, she stops them.
No, she's the boss.
How does she do that?
Because she's the boss. You know, as tough as, say, someone like Hone Harawira appears, she is clearly his boss. And although Pete Sharples and her are co-leaders, she is the boss of that Māori Party. And so you're right, she's a fascinating character. And she is a lady, an absolute lady, but she's also a warrior. You know, and it's amazing, really. No one messes with Tariana, but you know, very gracious, and it's sad sometimes how she's portrayed. Like I was really disappointed with the most untrustworthy New Zealanders. You know, she's right up there, and to me, that's more a sign of the ignorance and racism of a lot of New Zealanders. And I find it sad saying that, actually, because you sort of, in one sense, want Kiwis to be fair-minded, and they can be. But when it becomes something, you know, when we're talking about Māori politics, they seem to misunderstand. They don't understand a Tariana or a Pete Sharples, even me sometimes for some reason.
Do you ever hanker to go back to politics?
Initially I did when I left politics, and well, I didn't have much choice, but you know, lost the seat in 202 to Nanaia Mahita, and I was leading Mana Motuhake, which was the Māori Party in Parliament. But you know, media opportunities came around, and the funny thing was I was trying to set up an independent Māori Party, and then got TV work and radio work, and then stepped down. But sort of helped a little bit with the formation and setup of the Māori Party. But the first year or two was very hard because it's in your blood, and it's you just sort of love it. But I have to say, the sort of work I do now just seems like I'm in Parliament at times, because I'm around politicians all the time and talking with them, and you know. So it's almost like you're there anyway. So I love what I'm doing, and who knows one day though.
Great. Well, Willie, thank you very much for your time. Great to meet you.